Hey everybody. This should be working. If not, well, sorry. I'm gonna move some screens around so I'm actually looking at my camera instead of looking to the side. Mando Wookie's here.
Woo!
Fabulous.
Hey, Mando.
Okay, so we are here to talk about some Faeforge lore, interview style. So it's going to be me, and if you're not familiar, you guys see my face on here more often than anyone else's. But this is Ian. This is what the voice behind Khoz Forgeheart looks like. So
You haven't been watching us since day one. I know our streaming days are behind us. We are full blood podcasts now, right?
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to turn this music down a little bit more so that you're louder, because I think I'm much louder than you.
Oh. You want to
Yeah, let me see here.
turn me up? Turn the bass down?
I got.
No, just kidding. Turn the bass up.
All right, how's that, Mando?
Mando, can you hear me now? This is an important message to you from beyond. Brush your
Perfect.
teeth every day.
Professional stream. Yeah, so we're here real quick before we get all the way in, and so that maybe a couple more people can jump in, but maybe it might just be Mando. You might get to ask all your questions.
Ooh.
But we are now affiliated with two different companies. One is Dice Envy, which is a dice making company out in LA, down where I live. They make pretty dice like this, so sparkly, so big. This is so
That's the good
for
stuff.
fun. Regular D20 and this D20 from
You know, I
Dice
don't think
Envy.
I realized how much larger they were until I saw that comparison. I've seen you hold them up before, but the comparison really helps. Thank you.
This is specifically one of the, like, from one of their special sets. So they also sell normal size dice. This is a normal size one. It's like a metallic rainbow one. That's also from Dice Envy. But if you use the code Faeforge on checkout, you get 10% off your order, and part of that goes to support us as a podcast, so you can get like more art. Like you can see the art of the Academy behind that was paid for by by patrons, which you can also join. And then we're also affiliated with Loot Crate. So if I do have to say, I don't like this code. I did not make it. But if you use the code Steven15 at lootcrate.com.
It's a great code. I support this code.
STEPHEN 15, you get 15% off any order from Loot Crate. And they have a ton of different stuff. I think most recently they had a Marvel box that was like the Go Green box, that was like Hulk and Loki and like that theme. So it's pretty cool. This is one of my little minions.
Hey!
Say hi, Brielle.
Hi.
And I'm gonna need you to not mess with my headphones though. So yeah, with that,
Eating some fries, but that's all.
eating some
Fries
fries,
are good.
but that's all.
Fries are good.
Um,
Wait, this is important. Hold on. As we discussed earlier, I wanted to make this more of I wanted to like have like an interview process for you, so I think I take some of the pressure off of you, because I know you're so often in the driver's seat. So let's get down to the real questions here. What kind of fries?
oh, what kind of fries were they, Brielle?
Regular.
Regular
Ooh,
kind of fries.
regular.
Just, I mean, it's hard to go wrong with just regular fries.
From one of my favorite places of restaurants.
Yeah.
Oh, what's your favorite
Do
restaurant?
you remember what it's called?
No. Healthy junk. That's what
Healthy
it's
Junk.
Yep.
All right.
It's a vegan, like junk food place.
called. Junk food?
It's pretty fantastic.
It's not.
Mando wants to know, was the ducks eating burger debate resolved?
Yeah, I heard you and Ishmael arguing about whether ducks eat burgers. Did you guys come to a conclusion?
Quack, quack, quack.
Well, there you have it.
There it is. Just the facts, folks. Just the facts. You heard it live, right here, the first time.
Yep. All right.
All right.
So take it away.
All right. So, Steven, you are a fantastic DM. I mean, I have played in a lot of Dungeons and Dragons games. I've run a lot of Dungeons and Dragons games, and I'll be honest, I don't necessarily like being a player. I don't like being a player. I prefer to be a DM, and I'm it's a bit of a conceit that I have, because frequently when I play with other people, I kind of think to myself, man, this really could be just punched up a lot. I have never thought that as the player at your table.
Well,
Because when I sit at your table, you bring so much imagination, clarity. You have a very clear idea of what kind of world you want to build. And I really, when I proposed this to you, one of the questions that was really the forefront of my mind is, I mean, like this, unless you've got a raw natural talent, this must come from a place of a lot of experience. I'm guessing you've written games before this one, right? I know you have. Not Quite Heroes podcast that you've done.
Hey, Fraley's here. It's going good. We're just talking about world building. Is basically Ian is asking me what my experience is. So I guess the best way to answer that is to kind of start from the beginning of stories for me, which would be as a kid. So I'm an only child raised by a single mom. So I spent a lot of time at home by myself. Or even when she was home, she would be doing house stuff, keeping the house clean, doing like the adult stuff that you don't notice when you're a kid, right? Gingerbread cup. So I spent a lot of time living in these imaginary worlds that I created in my mind, going on these whole adventures in my room, that weren't reading, weren't like playing with action figures or anything like that, weren't video games, were literally just me like making up worlds in my head. So that's where it started. I actually didn't start DMing, well, or actually really playing any RPGs. I played for a short while in junior high. I had a group of friends. We played the who owned it? I don't remember. The old Star Wars RPG D20, the old D20 system, in junior high. So we did that for a little while. I only was a player. It was awesome because I ended up owning all 4 like IG-88 droids, and the Millennium Falcon and a small asteroid after like 3 sessions.
Nice.
So that's pretty cool. What? No. And so then I got, I didn't do much gaming anymore. I did lots of painting. My hair looks insane.
Your hair looks amazing, Steven.
And I have anxiety and major depression. Those are 2 things that I just have dealt with my whole life. And so when I would go to like gaming stores, I've always loved going to them. I never had the confidence to go play. I'd watch people playing Dungeons and Dragons, and I'd watch people playing games like Warhammer and Warhammer Fantasy, and miniature games, and I didn't really play. Yes, you may have some gum.
Can I have some?
Yes, you may.
Gingerbread, give me some too.
This is that professional quality.
Oh, this
interview.
is entirely part of it. At this point, if you are doing some kind of streaming or any kind of Zoom meeting and your kids or pets don't bomb it, something's clearly wrong at this point in the pandemic. So
Yeah.
you're on brand right now, Steve.
That's
this
fair.
Is good.
That's fair. So I would watch, and I painted. So I'm a pretty good miniature painter, because I spent all my time in game stores in the corner painting, watching people play, until finally.
Oh, interesting. So you spent a lot of time listening to other people play Dungeons and Dragons before you started stepping into the DM chair.
Yeah, and then I started listening to Drunks and Dragons, which is now Greetings Adventures, if you remember.
That's right.
Tim, who I've gotten to do a couple things with. We have a podcast. He was our first ever guest. So I started listening to them, and was like, I could do this. Like, I could tell the story. Like, I create worlds in my head. I do this. Awesome. Love it. And I got my wife, who is on the nerd scale, is just a little baby nerd. most of this world she didn't even know existed before we got together, and so I got her to listen to it, and then I reached out to a couple friends and I was like, hey, let's play D&D tonight. I did not own anything for it. I had nothing prepped, but I went out to Barnes and Nobles and bought the starter set.
There we go. And this was fifth edition,
fifth edition. Fifth edition. So 4.5, 5 years ago, something like that. Thank you. Okay. And so we sat down and just started playing. And I'm basically like just tearing through, like reading as we're playing, like learning that you're just making stuff up. And then immediately after playing that, we had so much fun, and it was just so disjointed. And
tell us some more about that first time you sat in the DM chair. What was like a highlight, something that you remember even now, all these years later?
I don't remember any specifics, but I just remember sitting around laughing and like feeling so connected with this group of friends in a way that rekindled that childhood imagination. And so it's really more feelings that I remember than like a specific like, wow, this moment happened, because I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know the rules. I didn't know what was going on that much. And so we played like 2 or 3 sessions of Lost Minds, and then I was like, hey, like let's just start our own thing. And I started, and so I built my first world loosely. Wow, this is not dreamy. That was a genre shift. I know you can't, I don't think you can hear it, but so we started doing this, and that group, unfortunately, it just didn't work out and fell apart a little bit. Yes, you may have some gum too.
Daddy?
Yes. Okay, you're gonna interrupt me?
I'm gonna tell him something.
Okay, go ahead.
This is very important. This is very important.
Yeah, he asked me a question, so I'm answering it. So that was the first one. Then I started building this group, this home group, in a world called shoot, what was it called? I have the map. I'll see if I can find. I'll dig up the map and post it on Twitter after this.
Ooh, there we go.
But
now, so I love this. You had been listening to people play D&D via podcasts. You had been listening to people play D&D, like, you know, at the game store. You have been surrounding yourself with children. And they love you very much. This is wonderful, Steven. I like your children clearly love you.
They do.
It's
and
wonderful.
they like being on camera. We don't need to just see eyes.
Oh, hey there. Oh my goodness. And after listening to people play D&D for a long time, you went ahead, got the starter set, played 2 games, and you immediately went from like observer to homebrew and just started like building your own world like right off the bat. You know, and I don't think that's everybody's story. You know, I think a lot of us either like start off like as players, or we start off as DMs but doing like Polish material, and you like went straight into homebrew. And so I'm wondering, you know, you said you spent a lot of time from your imagination, a lot of time as a kid just imagining these worlds, and I'm going to kind of bring us up to Faeforge now. How much of that like childhood world of imagination, that like you said before, that childlike fantasy that you remembered, that feeling that you remember from your first game as a DM, how much of that do you bring now into the worlds you build?
I would say a ton. I think so. I think I have two main skills as a DM. I think one is I can make something. I can get everybody on the same page as far as what they're seeing. So like I can make a landscape where everybody sees the same thing and has this picture in their mind that's, or at least similar. that's fairly vivid. And then the other thing that I'm pretty good at, I think, is bringing in narrative pieces that are emotive in nature. So things you feel, whether that's in a setting or in a story, that's kind of what I kind of feel is my. Yes. Go ahead.
Also, you bring a. Wow! Congratulations.
That's true.
That's right. You also bring an amazing level of patience to every aspect of your life.
I try. But so yeah, when I write stories, I go back into that kid of being like the Faeforge Academy in particular. Obviously, it's fairly upfront that there are some parallels with like the Harry Potter world, right? You're in a magic school. That's kind of unavoidable.
Yes, Harry Potter. We're gonna go watch Harry Potter. We're gonna go watch Harry Potter.
So having that, like, because I grew up with Harry Potter, like, as the books came out. I was at the midnight release of the final book and all that stuff. And then like as I read the Lord of the Rings trilogy as a pretty young kid. And so these worlds that are these really, really large feeling worlds that have this element of wonder and whimsy, I guess you could say, is really where what I draw from, especially for Faeforge Academy with the Fae elements. I love the idea of walking through these forests of bright different colors and this song element that's like that's flowing throughout as like this kid. You haven't lost any teeth. Are you putting a dice in your mouth? Please don't. Oh, that's your gum. Okay.
It's cool. It's just gum.
Yes, you can tell him your favorite Harry Potter.
Deathly Hallows Part 2 is my favorite Harry Potter. And mine.
Ah. Which one is my favorite?
The
Dad?
Chamber of Secrets is yours? Yep.
Ah, Chamber of Secrets, also a classic. Steven, what's your favorite Harry Potter book?
Probably. Oh man, I would say I really liked Order of the Phoenix. I read that one in one night.
That is your favorite? Wow, my goodness, that is a hefty tome. What is?
Yeah.
I think Order of the Phoenix comes in at. That's the one that comes out like maybe 600 pages.
Yeah, it's
that's a beast.
It's thick.
Yeah.
That was yeah. Me and Mando are on the same page. We read that one so many times. So yeah, I mean that's a long answer to say like yeah, I take a lot of this like, especially that feel. So there's two things that I remember feeling in like reading stories as a kid. One was wonder, and just being like wow, like magic is amazing, and like it would be so cool.
Magic is amazing.
It'd be so cool to be like that hero that has these special abilities or whatever. Yes, ma'am.
When I grow up, I can sing a song to the Tooth Fairy.
When you grow up, you're gonna sing a song to the Tooth Fairy. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, I support this plan.
Very good idea.
I support this plan.
And so that's one. And then I remember the feeling of like those climactic moments in stories where you're like, what is gonna happen? Like I'm either terrified or nervous or like the stuff that keeps you flipping pages. And so those are the two things that I try to pull from when I'm like world building and session writing and stuff.
Now, I hope you don't mind if I reveal at least one of your DM secrets. But those of you who are fans of the show, you may have noticed this already, but our odd number episodes end on cliffhangers. There's a reason for that. We record our sessions 2 at a time, and I always really appreciate Steven is like a surgeon when we play. You do such a good job. That's right.
Yep. That was hilarious. You're awesome.
Steven, you do such a good job of like timing that moment where it's the cliffhanger, like the end of the episode,
Mhm.
and where to leave us
Stop.
wanting
I
more.
swallowed it.
Yeah, no, I heard you.
This is, you can't write this stuff. This
No,
is this is live improv here.
Mhm.
We're gonna sing a song to the Tooth Fairy. It's gonna be great.
It's probably called I farted.
So you cited, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings. Like, what are like? There's a certain element to Faeforge though that's a little bit like, I mean, like you said, it's got that sense of like fairy like wonder to it, which
Mhm.
I think that just might be you, Steven. That might just be something that you bring in.
That is a little bit more of there's not a lot of specific things that I draw from for that necessarily, other than like what other stories have made me feel. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
What are you looking for? Yeah, can you leave that alone? Thank you. So I think some of that is more like, okay, when I think of the Feywild and I think of fairies and I think of magic forests and I think of like what could that be? Like what are the possibilities for that? That's kind of, yeah, I feel like it's the culmination of those different ideas and whatnot, I guess.
And you bring in this sense of there being a world where like magic is incredible. It's even though something that, I mean, like all of the characters, all the players are all casters. We all cast magic. But when we're in the Feywild, when we're at the Faeforge Academy, magic becomes this thing where really like you feel like you have this power coursing through you, and that and you bring this song element into it, and that adds this this piece of there being this fantastical element, which is really hard to capture. And I mean, like something that I'm fond of wondering aloud in Dungeons and Dragons are like, what are the stories in a land where minotaurs and dragons are real? Like, what are the things that people are like, that's far-fetched, I don't believe in all that.
Yeah,
the Loch Ness monster, that's ridiculous, I never heard of it. But you have this part where, as characters who are in the Fae, we're transported to this alien world where we don't know what the rules are. And you brought in so many really cool elements of time dilation or time travel, of pieces where we're finding ourselves in other parts of the world, like where we don't know what the rules are. So one of the things I wanted to talk about is one of the things that I have a lot of questions about. And one thing that you do really well is taking this world of magic and of wonder and giving it just enough darkness to give that tension of those cliffhangers. And so there's Valhalla is an element that it keeps coming up in the Faeforge Academy. And I'm wondering, almost like sometimes I wonder, like, which came first for you as a creator? Was the Academy that came first, or was it this dark seed? Because they seem balanced almost.
Let me ask a clarifying question. Like, which came first in the timeline of the story, or which came first in my brain?
For you, Steven.
The Academy was the first thing.
Okay.
So it all came from reading the Witchcraft supplement. So I was a Kickstarter backer for that. I think it was spring of 2019 was when that got kickstarted.
Yes, that sounds right.
And so then I got early access to their PDF as they were still doing edits and stuff and finishing up art and everything. And as I was reading about this, I was like, this is the key to a different kind of D&D game. What is here? Because it gives some framework, even though we haven't done very much of the crafting in the storyline thus far. I've told you all this in like off camera, off mic. But after we finished this first arc that I really was trying to focus on establishing various pieces of this world, there's going to be some more open space for y'all to work and to get assignments and to do school stuff and do some of that crafting. But even I feel like in how you, as setting a scene for how you all created your characters, that that book kind of gave a unique look into like you focusing on a bard, like taking it a step further. Like every bard is trying to tell stories and stuff like that, but going like, I'm trying to create the world's greatest ballad. Like this is my craft and I'm going to focus on that. And I'm going to create a character around that. Like Ariadne's wayfinding, and how she uses crystals and stuff like that. Sepia's whole character is like the swampy, trashy nature of her is like she finds beauty in this stuff that everybody else discards or sees as gross. All of that. So that came first, and so once I was like, okay, I want this school of magic, then I went, okay, why is this school special? That's where Ilvalhalla, the singing tree, came from. In the center, so in my head I went, okay, in the center of this school is some source of magic,
the seed of magic. Yes.
And then that's where I started going like, okay, so what if in the history of this world magic died? Essentially, magic was broken. Magic stopped being accessible by most people. Then that would make this academy extra special if magic was being essentially reborn in the world from the point of this tree. And so that started, and then once it was like, okay, so if magic broke, something had to do the breaking. Okay, there's the time of lore, this ancient conflict, where mortals had so much access to magic that they became essentially equals with gods. There's a war, sort of a classic. I mean, there's nothing that unique about.
Oh, it's a classic humanity versus nature, and humanity overreaches its bounds and backfires on them. But
and then as that plays out, hundreds of or thousands of years later, there are still traces of that conflict left in the world. One of those is Ilvalhalla. Some of that would be the darkness that you guys have started to experience. I mean, I think you guys have. I've done a little bit of lore on Malvaris, who's one of these beings from way back then, who was on the opposite side of Ilvalhalla. So that's kind of the order. It went magic school. How do I make this magic school different? And then from there, and actually this is going to answer Mando's fan question. He said, how much of the world did you build and how much did the players shape the world geographically and lore/thematically? So if you remember way back when because we started doing character building and stuff like summer, something like that.
It was I remember specifically being on a fall walk. I think it was around Thanksgiving.
Oh, that's when we did that session 0. Yeah. We did that session 0, but we had been talking
over the summer about it. Yep.
Over the summer. And I had made a rough map essentially of the world with names and places. And as far as the world goes, outside of the Feywilds and the school, I hadn't built up very much specifically. So like Nairene came from a conversation with Michael and I. Michael was like, I really want a place where I can see myself represented, a place where Black folks are a nation of Black folks that is strong and advanced and something that contributes leadership and goodness to the world. But that can still have some structure, that can give some attention for Besky and stuff. And so Nairene came from that, from that conversation.
And I think what I really like about Amanda's question here is that you really did a great job of taking that and folding it into the Faeforge Academy.
Yeah.
You know?
And I'll add this. Valhaldrian, Kai created. So that's part of her backstory.
Oh, I don't. I always thought that when Kaya created Ashran, you were like, "That's perfect," because I have this like Shadow City already.
No,
But no, that was not what
no,
happened. Oh, interesting. I did not
no.
know
Kai,
this.
Kai was like, I want this Eladrin who had to leave the Feywilds because something happened to her city. She didn't give any specifics about what happened to the city. So I took that and ran with it. But yeah, that's that. The celestial plane of Eludra and Sala the god both came from Ariadne, or from Adelaide. Her and me and Michael and her had a little like a little Zoom meeting that was about excuse me about them, because you will find out a lot more actually in the episode that comes out tomorrow.
That is 100% correct.
About Michael's patron. But there is a connection. I mean, he's a celestial warlock, and Ariadne's from a celestial plane, and we've made some of these connections, so I won't share too much about that. But yeah, a lot of these connections were me saying, this is what I want the world to be like, to feel like. What kind of characters do you want to bring to a place like this? And then once I had the characters in place, that's when I actually really started jumping into world building and narrative stuff. Because I think games like Curse of Strahd, for example, outside of some problematic issues that need to be corrected from that whole world, like it's a very well written.
I know there's like 10 things in my brain that's like, but we're not here to talk about that right now. But we're not here to talk about that right now.
But from a story standpoint, it's a very intriguing story.
Oh yes,
it's very very fun to play. But you don't necessarily have to have a connection to it to start that.
This is true. You can be ripped out of whatever narrative you were already experiencing and dropped into Barovia.
Yeah, same with Storm King's Thunder, same with any of them, because they're published material. They need to be
generic enough.
Yeah, they need to be generic enough to make something happen, and to have a storyline that you can obviously, every DM does this, where they break apart a story and then piece it back together so it fits a little bit better for their group and stuff.
That's true.
And this actually will go back to the very first question you asked me, but why I jumped straight from like published material to homebrewing is I want people to feel connected to whatever they're doing or creating, because I feel like it gives everyone a deeper investment in the story. It is easier to jump into role playing, and you create. Thank you for finding those. Can you go put those on the counter? Awesome. And helpful. You start to get more natural moments of these like little side glimpses of humanity that are actually found in the role playing. So it's these characters that you're interacting through with one another, but they're these really like beautiful moments, and the more connected to a story the character is and the player is, the more real those become, and the more natural those occur, and the more and the more the story starts to write itself in some ways.
And there's a really just elegant way that you've taken a lot of the pieces of the story that are important to us, and you keep bringing it back into that. Like, I love the fact, just as a player, I love the fact that, like, I mean, a bard in many campaigns is a throwaway character. You know, what's my motivation? I'm the bard. Yeah. You just heard it. We're done, right? And you know, you've done such a great job, just even with Khoz, of taking his like song making and saying, no, we're gonna put some wheels on that, we're gonna put an engine in that, and it's gonna drive. You know, like, you know, yeah, like I would not have suspected. I feel dumb for being so surprised by this, but when you took Khoz and put Khoz in the same room as Ilval Holland, I was like, oh my god, like I'm with a god of song right now. Like, this is like a powerful being that is a magical song at its core, its essence, of course this would move my character to tears. I'm a bard, you know. And it was just, and you've done that not just with Khoz, you've done that with Seppi, you've done that with Ashrin, you know, and then you've definitely done that with Besky and with Ariadne. And so like there's just, and again, like, you've just done such a good job of like keeping that cycle going of including these characters that pull our characters in. I think it pulls the listeners in as well.
Yeah,
and I really appreciate that.
Well, and that's what I hope in every story that I've been a part of. I want this might sound cheesy, but I want to make things that are beautiful. Like I want to tell stories that are beautiful. I want to have these things that, like, to step back a little bit bigger picture, I think one of the things that's really special about TTRPGs is that you can share in these like deep emotional moments with people in a much less what's the word, outside of real life, right? So you can experience these really deep and beautiful and moving things without having to go on a quest to slay a dragon, without the threat of death, without in your everyday life, because life is hard. And yeah, anyways, that's, I just like, I want to
think with especially everything that's going on right now, having a nice safe container where, like you say, characters can go on adventures, have these experiences, and feel like, not that there's, you know, total safety, that there's threats, that there are obstacles to overcome, but it brings it to this place of like you said, like it feels good, like it feels like, oh, like we're doing the thing, you know. And that is that's a skill. That's a skill. I want to bring into kind of like bring that lens over to how you've created some of these NPCs and how they've interacted with us as players. But before we do that, I know I've already missed my moment, but I'm going to do it anyhow. I'm just going to go ahead and give a quick shout out to the folks that publish Witch Plus Craft, Astrological Press. Pick it up on Drive Through RPG if you haven't already. It is a great supplement, and I'll be honest, like I'm actually running for some friends of mine. I'm running a campaign that's all very themed from the Miyazaki films, which also have that same kind of, you know, fae mystical presence. If you haven't seen those films, but yeah, the Witch Plus Craft is like, it's a great supplement. So definitely helped a lot with our world building.
Yep.
Speaking of our world building, you have created a very rich and diverse cast of NPCs for us to interact with, and you do the funny voices, so that's great. What you try and you do. One of the first characters that we interacted with that really stuck out in my mind, especially because it was so clear, like there's basically a big magnet on them saying, I'm important, like interact with me. And not because you as the DM were like forcing us to, but we as players were like, we got to go catch this person. What's their deal? Professor Perseverance. Right now, you said before, we talked about Harry Potter. Perseverance gave off like hardcore Snape vibes when we first met them, which I'm not sure if that was intentional.
I don't think it was it wasn't consciously intentional, though. Once y'all started making those references, I was like, yeah, I can see that. No, you got a point. Jay's here. Hey, Jay.
Hey, Jay.
Yeah, Perseverance was really fun. Watching y'all try to figure him out. And so it
helped that he was constantly going into the woods and being super sus.
Well, and that was the thing, is like the first time you saw him was the first night y'all were at the academy, right?
Yeah.
Ashrin was at the tree, and he like snuck out and ran into the wild. And I don't know if you put this together. You saw him meet with someone. That was Imelda.
Yep, this was.
Oh, I forgot about Ashrin's interaction with him in class. That was hardcore Snape. Like that was what it became clear to us as, and I think it worked out really well, because it became clear to us as players and clear to the audience that like this character is important.
You must interact with them. They are going to be a pain in the ass, but ultimately at the end, they're on your side, despite any evidence that you might find indicating otherwise.
Well, and I wanted to. So Fae is like this place of you have no idea what Fae creatures' motivations are, right? That's like the whole idea behind the Feywild essentially is all these like tricksy little beings, and
Trixie hobbits.
some of them aren't little, some of them are like deeply dangerous and terrifying.
Yeah.
But nothing is what it seems, and so that was part of why he exists. Yes, if you get a piece for if you let your brother and sister get one too. And so that was why I wanted him in there, because I wanted to have that element of like, one, the school has mystery within itself, and then like have you all on your heels of like, what is going on here actually? Like, I thought I signed up for school. Like, what's
We've gone to 3 classes and we've had we've tried to kill us at least 5 times.
Exactly. So he's been very fun, and I don't know how much of the episodes you've listened to. It's been fun for me doing the little like minute-long clips before the episodes.
Oh yes. I can tell you take great joy in those.
Yeah, they're little pieces of world building and background and like what's happening behind the scenes. And I
the NPCs talking to each other.
And I intentionally don't usually give names and stuff like that, just to, because they're almost Easter eggs. They're just my little.
Yeah, they're fair. Yeah.
It's the last thing I do before any episode. Before I release an episode, is I record that. I write and record that. Like after.
It's wonderful.
After doing the whole thing, and I go, okay, what's happening here? What's a way that I can show what's happening, but only barely, and so that so that you want to get through the intro and get to the rest of the episode.
That's great. I love that.
But yeah, perseverance has been really fun. Oh, let's not ring the cowbell. Let's not do that right now.
Bell. My cheek is showing it.
But yeah, I thought that would be a fun way to have some world building and story building, no matter what happened in the episode. So it's fun. I actually need to go back and listen to all of those. And see
I actually listened to the show. I should say I was listening to the show very regularly. The first arc, I listened to all the episodes because I used to do a lot of driving. Now I don't. I don't do a lot of driving these days.
2020. That's
right.
Okay, I'll try it. Can I tell you a secret? I've actually had one of those before.
What? Mind blown.
I think there is. I think that's a Tootsie Pop.
What's the middle of a Tootsie Pop? This is part of the interview, by the way. How many licks does it take, Steven?
1, 2, 3, bite.
Now, this isn't really part of the interview. You don't have to answer this question, but I'm going to say right now, I have no idea how old you are.
Me?
Yeah, because you know that commercial, 1, 2, 3, bite, but you also were up all night waiting for Harry Potter to come out. So I have no idea what your age bracket is. You don't have to answer this. It's not a question. You don't have to answer it.
I'm also a Fae being, and I'm also ageless.
Yeah, and you're a time traveler, apparently.
No, I'm 31. I'm 31? I'm 31. So, yeah.
Guys, I bet my tongue is gonna turn orange. It's an orange.
All right. All right. Well, let's see what chat has to say here. All right. Chat. Will the tongue turn orange?
These are the big questions. These are the
big questions here. That's right.
Why don't we do 1 or 2 more questions, and chat, anyone who's there, if you have a question, throw it out there. And then all these little children who keep finding me, I think they want some attention, so I'm gonna go give them some.
That's an interesting conclusion that you've come to, Steven, but I trust you on this issue. You're the expert. All right, see, we have a question here from Mando. Did you find any difficulty in molding low-level PCs but some of the more dramatic story beats, as in encountering story-strong characters as relatively novice student adventurers, right? How do you make a low-level adventure actually interesting when a solid slap from a troll will put someone in the grave?
Yeah. Not really. Like it wasn't too hard, in part because actually I realized this wasn't explicitly said in the
I'm an actor for a minion.
in the podcast, but when when they kind of get the power of the tree put in them, they jumped to level 8. The whole party did. So when they did that fight with Kalvala, they were all level 8. As opposed to level, I think they were level 3 when that happened.
We were level 3.
So
hoarding our second level spell slots.
And so that was something that I had planned on really early on. Really early on, I had planned
really early on.
This was going to be a piece that, like, to show that there was something like really special about the tree. Hang on just a second. I'm in the middle. Hey, Miss Brielle. When someone is speaking, it's actually not very respectful to speak over them. Okay, just saying "Dad" doesn't mean you get to talk whenever you want. Got it? Thank you. So I wanted to show that there was a special connection between these 5 students and the tree, and that the tree itself was way more than just a tree. It was more than just a song. There was something really different and powerful about it. And then actually this will be fun. Originally you weren't supposed to turn into a song.
No, I wasn't.
Yeah. So Khoz was not supposed to turn into a song, but even podcasts have the same struggles that all D&D tables have, and that is scheduling. And so he couldn't make it to a couple episodes, and I thought, like, this is a really cool moment to kind of do even more world building and make this world deeper and build another connection between Khoz and something more than just like this idea of chasing a song. I love your gum.
You got more gum?
But that's a great question. And because for any of the characters, it made the most thematic sense. Yeah, and I was actually really glad that it was Khoz that happened to, because I would have been able to find other ways. Like Sepia would have had something happen with her patron,
swamp,
probably, or the swamp. Ashrin would have burst into flames. I don't know. The other characters definitely would have been tougher. So it worked out really, really well.
I like to make it easy on you, Steven. One last question before we...
I'm so close to being done, baby. Her tongue...
There it is. It's an orange tongue. Orange. There it is. It's an orange tongue.
So, okay.
You heard it here first, folks.
Go finish up your show.
The tongue went orange. The tongue went orange. Now I'm sad she wasn't drinking. She didn't have a blue lollipop. Then we see her tongue was blue. So one last question here. We've talked a lot about how you've incorporated the characters into the world and how the NPCs and the story was shaped around it. There is this element of this connection that we as characters are starting to draw here between Malvaris.
No, if you swallow your gum, that's it, baby. Sorry. Go back, watch your show.
Between Malvaris, Kalvala, Vespin Willowsong, and it feels like this kind of relates to Mando's question, that we're starting to kind of escalate ourselves. Like at first, first it was Professor Perseverance was the baddie. But no, it's not Professor Perseverance, it was Vespin, and Vespin's working for this Kalvala person. So now we've kind of got Vespin Willowsong under wraps. We think we do. We're, hand waving. But and now it's all right, so there's this Kalvala, and we know that, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but Kalvala is, behind Kalvala in power is this Malvaris character that we know very little about.
That is a fair assumption.
And I'm exactly. And so what I'm curious is, and this is something that I know a lot of DMs, myself included, struggle with, is that continual integration of the characters with the larger story.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I really like about what you do is that you take the spotlight and you kind of like point it at different characters, sometimes at different points in the episode, but sometimes there are episodes where it's like clearly like, and as a cast we respect this, I think it's a great move, where it's clear like, okay, like this is an Ashran episode, or this is going to be a Khoz episode, or this is a an episode where we're going to talk a lot about about Sola, which I think is, again, the next episode. I'm really looking forward to seeing what you're gonna do with it. You take what we make in the studio and you do a lot of good work with it.
No, it's pretty easy with what you guys give me. So
you tell that's the hours of editing that Steven does. I know you do. With Malveris, and again, no spoilers, please. But is there any character that you can look at and say, like, when we start getting more into Malveris, like this is like where the camera would be shifting?
So to answer that question, I'm going to explain how I think about writing campaigns.
Mm-hmm.
There is session goals. Like, okay, tonight there's going to be some sort of conflict or some sort of world building or something that I'm going to show. So that's kind of the very short term. Then there's the arc view, right? Okay, what are the pieces directly working around our characters that are directly influencing their actions, their reactions, their experiences? Then there's a third layer, and that's what's the world beyond them look like.
Mm-hmm.
So what pieces are shifting out there that are connected? Because, so for instance, y'all had a direct connection with Vespin Willowsong. Vespin Willowsong has multiple connecting points out of her, right? You know that one is Kalvala. She's intimated to you that there are other things that she's working around.
Mm-hmm. What's that little fellow's name again?
Zevo the Quickling.
I love that, and that's another great character, because that's a character we can just look at that guy, and as a group we can say, I hate that dude.
I love how much Michael hates him. Like,
it's so good,
so deeply.
Like, we all dislike him, but Michael's like, stuff him in a bag. I'm just so angry. I'm so angry right now.
So there's that third layer, and then there's the fourth layer. To me,
the fourth layer,
and that is, what is the big piece moving behind the scene for a long campaign? So
like, for example, like and we were talking about Strahd before, like, if you haven't played Strahd before, like, spoiler alert, it's about this vampire, and he wants to kill you. So also the boat sinks at the end of the movie. But we don't really know about this. This isn't published material here, so there's definitely this moving power that is in play.
Yeah. So that. So with all of that, you don't know which of those last two levels Malvaris would be on.
Actually, that's 100% true.
And so
that's 100% true.
And so that's kind of all I'll say about that. Tie-in question: are you hoping / expected to take the campaign to upper PC levels? Yes, I'm hoping to. But to answer that more specifically, I want to take this campaign to where it makes sense to go. I don't want to start like the school itself will become dull.
If we are always in school,
if we're always in school. Now it's a big world, and like if you look at the world map, the school takes up a
Very small
city-sized
section of it.
space.
Yeah.
So there's lots that we could potentially do that could still tie into being part of the Faeforge Academy, part of Valhalla, and all this stuff. But I don't want to force that. So, I mean, I would love to see this go to level 20 because I think it'd be really cool to go from. I think we started technically at level 2, but
just so it's clear, our progression so far is we start at level 2. After several sessions, we get to level 3. Being infused with the power of Valhalla, we got to level 8. And as soon as that was done, Steven dropped our asses right back to level 3.
And now you're level 5. You got it.
We're level 5
Yeah.
now. Woo! There's all the spell slots.
Yep. Yeah. So that is how I'll answer that question.
Good. That is good. That is good. I like that.
So there is definitely more stuff. Level 20, that's a lot of spell slots for all the magic users, except for the warlock.
Yeah, it really is, yeah. Except for the other half of the party, which are warlocks.
Yeah, I mean, but warlocks get so much crazy stuff too. So with all of that, I was actually just the other night writing more stuff about the time of lore, and some other pieces, and starting to flush out that conflict a little bit more because we're starting to get into those pieces.
I've always wondered, actually, what is there a name for the time period we're in right now?
There is, I believe.
Steven's consulting the story Bible.
It is.
Or possibly the story Quran or the story Torah. I'm not sure.
Where is it? No. There's the setting folder. Lore.
Story Codex. Yes, thank you, Amanda.
Nope, that's wrong.
I was trying to think of the name of that weird book that keeps circulating the internet every few years about, like, it's some like codex written in a language that never existed about plants and animals that are all fictitious, and it's like hundreds, if not thousands of years old. Randall Monroe keeps positing that's the first D&D handbook.
World Lord. There it is. There's the right. I have way too many. Good God.
The Voynich manuscript, that's what it is.
Yeah, this era is called the Echoes of Divinity and Arcana.
The Echoes of Divinity and Arcana. I like it. Oh man, I mean, if any of our characters went to or paid attention in history class, you would know that. I got money on Adelaide or Besky being the ones that actually took notes that day.
Absolutely.
/ attended class.
All right, I should wrap up and go be a parent and stuff. This
Wonderful.
was a lot of fun.
This was great. Yeah, thanks so much for sharing your process and sharing some more of the secrets of the universe of the Faeforge Academy with us. I'm glad we did this. It was wonderful.
Me too. I think we should. I mean, me and Michael had done a couple of these early on. I would love to do some more and make it more regularly. So yeah, and thanks for being here, Mando and Fraley, and I know Neophet was here for a little while. Hope you have a great day and survive the stress of what's happening here. And
that's right. Deep breaths and lots of chocolate, folks. That's my strategy, at least. Ooh, and hot showers.
Yes, you can. Yeah, new episode drops tomorrow, and we'll see you soon.
All right.
Bye
Bye
all.
everybody.